Hello folks and welcome. This is section 2, the color wheel. Okay, so you've probably seen something like this before. It is a visual tool that is used by creative people to help choose colors. It has its roots in the scientific explorations of Sir Isaac Newton, and we'll learn a little bit about that. It's really used in a variety of creative endeavors: photography, painting, design. Let's see how it might work for you. Here is what we'll be talking about in this section. We'll start with talking about rainbows. There's colors in rainbows. We will then move on to talk about ROYGBIV. What are these letters, Todd is saying? We'll also learn how this can be a tool for us as we explore what light is and how light behaves and how light is perceived by our eyeballs. Okay, so rainbows. We're all familiar with rainbows. We've seen them occasionally. For many of us, like crayons, the colors of the rainbow are one of the first things that we encounter as young people as we're thinking about color. And oh, there's a variety of colors. What does that have to do with ROYGBIV? And what does this mean? You might also see this name, ROYGBIV. It's like a person named Roy. You might also be familiar with a song by a band called They Might Be Giants, called ROYGBIV.
And that spells ROYGBIV.
Let's talk about the colors associated with rainbows. What are these colors? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. ROYGBIV. That is what is called a mnemonic approach. ROYGBIV. ROYGBIV. Another one that's not quite as easy to remember, but this is traditional from the old days. Richard of York gave battle in vain. If that's easier for you to remember these colors, then use that. In the 17th century, Sir Isaac Newton began to study color theory. He noticed that when light passed through a prism, that it separated into these colors. He then started down this path of studying color theory. He arranged those colors into a circle, and that ultimately became the artist's color wheel. For some reason, he chose to choose 7. In his day, 7 was considered a magical kind of number. It was the 7 days of the week, or the 7 original planets, the classical planets. Also, he was a fan of music, the 7 notes. He wanted to reduce it down to 7. Nowadays, people may look at it and wonder why he included indigo and violet. This is what happened, and this is where we are today. We are using this color wheel. These colors are not exactly what we see on the artist's color wheel, but this is what started us down that path towards the tool that we use today. Not a perfect tool, but a tool that is really fairly helpful. Let us look at this tool that we use to explore light. We have primary colors, and so those colors are yellow, red, and blue. And no other colors can be combined to create these colors, so we call these the primary. Now we have a thing called secondary colors. And when 2 primary colors are combined, we get a secondary color. Yellow and red will combine to create orange. Yellow and blue will make green, etc. Now there are also the tertiary colors. These are colors that are created by combining a primary color and a secondary color together. They all have names. You usually see the names referred to as this: yellow and yellow-orange, and orange are next to each other on the color wheel. I've labeled them here, primary, secondary, and tertiary. There is also this concept of warm colors versus cool colors. So I've labeled this. You can see the warm colors begin around yellow, the yellow-orange, the orange, the red-orange. These are all considered warm colors. And to the right of that line, starting with the greens, going through the blues and the violets, those are considered cool colors. Let's look at our first exercise. I've included these exercises as mini projects. Really, the only way you're going to learn is to get your hands on and start working with color. So there's a few different elements to this. I'm going to show you what is involved in this exercise. I'll explain it to you a bit. I'm going to actually show you a little bit of a website, and then you can pause the video, stop the video, go off and try this stuff for yourself. Step 1, figure out where you're going to save your colors. I'll be showing you many more possible options as we go forward. But just to start out, find a place where you want to save colors. So this might be just a folder on your computer. This might be in a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document where you just cut and paste pictures into it. You can even use something like Pinterest to collect colors from around the web and save it if you're a Pinterest user. You can also use PowerPoint or Apple Keynote, anything where you can paste an image in. And for now, that'll be fine. I'm going to show you some other ways you can do it going forward, and we'll get more and more sophisticated. But just find somewhere and remember it where you're going to save some of the colors that you start collecting. Where might you begin? Well, you could skip forward and look at the resources section at the end of this whole class. There's a whole bunch of links in there, and you can start exploring. You can do this by looking on the internet, going to Google, finding images. You might also have photographs that you've taken that you really like the colors in those photographs. Or you might see something in your neighborhood that you want to take a photo of. Come back and save it in your color repository. I'm also going to show you something with Google. There's a search by color. I'm not sure if you've used this approach, but this is one of the simplest tools we'll be looking at. We're going to look at many more tools that will allow us to choose color, but I love this Google one because it's just so simple, and anywhere you can get Google, you can use this. And once you've had a chance to try these things out and you've started to collect some images, I just want you to make sure you save a few of these images into the repository that you created. Let me show you number 3 on this list, Google Search by Color. I will turn on my browser here. And you all know Google. I'm going to type in house. And if I go up to the top here, I can click on images. And I get a bunch of pictures of houses. Great. Now, have you ever used this? There's a little button called Tools up here. I'm going to click on Tools. And you see there is one called Color. Let's click on that. Let's try blue. Click on that. And now I have a whole bunch of pictures of blue houses. I don't know what the heck that is. Look at that one. All right, so we can also use this to say something like swatch palette. And that's great. We're on Google Images, and it's giving us a whole bunch of pictures of swatches. But we can also do what we did before. Click on Tools and go over to Color. And let's click blue. And what we have here is a ton of different variations of color palettes using blue. So you can click on them to see them larger. You can save some of these. You can also search other related images. This is a great way, I'm going to shut this off here, for you to explore color. So I want you to wrap up this lesson, dive into this, and really explore color and start saving some things. And then in the upcoming lessons, we're going to learn how we can start being a little more sophisticated and start using these colors in our projects.